You're listening to WCOM LP 103.5 FM Carborough and Chapel Hill. It's a Tuesday, it's 5 o'clock, and that only means one thing. It's time for another round of Snarky Faith with your host, Stuart Deloney. This is a space where we irreverently wrestle through life, culture, and spirituality, all with our heads in the clouds, our tongues in our cheeks, our hearts in our sleeves, and our feet on the ground. At Snarky Faith, the questions or even the answers are never the point. It's all about the conversation. So here's your host, Stuart Deloney.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another round of Snarky Faith Radio. I'm your host, Stuart Deloney. How the heck is everybody doing this week? Is anyone losing their mind? We've got all sorts of crazy stuff going on. We've got North Korea looming. We have the fact that Trump is still breathing and tweeting. And then that leads us to our conversation for today, all about good old Harvey Weinstein. Yes. Yeah, and all of its disgusting nature. Harvey Weinstein, the guy that you just look at and then need to take a shower immediately afterwards just to make yourself feel cleaner. Harvey Weinstein, the predator, and Harvey Weinstein, the guy that has abused his power over and over to assault and rape women. It's a fun topic for our show, but here's what we're going to talk about. I'll give you a little snapshot of what we want to do this hour. What I'm looking at is simply this. There's two things. One, is Weinstein a predator, a horrendous human being, an abuser, all of those? Sure. So most of all of this goes without saying. But what I want to do is this. I want to do two different things. First, I want to talk about how our commander-in-chief is pretty much exactly the same kind of predator that Weinstein is. And our commander-in-chief is supported by evangelicals. And so we're going to have a bit of a weird issue here within ethics. What are Christians doing? How can Christians ignore these things? How do we continue to move forward? And then finally, I want to get into abuse in the church. In the church. The things that happen that we don't always pay attention to, or that we actually end up tolerating and allow to happen and to keep going. Because just like Hollywood, just like the White House, guess what? Just like all of those, the church is no different. See, what begins to happen is power corrupts. And even though I know it's not the same thing as being a CEO of a company, but being the pastor of a church is an intoxicating power. That does corrupt. And I think all of this needs to be talked about. So we're going to hit up Weinstein, then Trump, and then let's talk about pastors. That's going to be our hour. So buckle up. We've got a good show in store. And as we start things off, it's going to seem like a tangent, but it's not. And very rarely do I want to quote, of all people, Alex Jones. But this last week, Alex Jones went on a rant. I say he went on a rant. I think he is a human rant. He's the guy that he's perpetually red-faced and angry and just kind of like a really loud, annoying bulldog. And like a loud and annoying bulldog, he continues to bark. But he did have a point. Kind of. I can't give him total credit for this, and you'll see why in a second. But yes, so he spent time this last week on one of his shows ranting about megachurch pastors. And when I heard that, it began to make me think deeper and deeper about what is going on inside the church and how it looks like Weinstein, how it looks like Trump, how it looks like all of these things. So it's kind of a fun little primer here. Let's go ahead and listen to the dear, angry, red-faced Alex Jones in all of his ranty glory. So here it is.
Local church fighting the globalist? Is it exposing the pedophile rings? Is it exposing the New World Order? No, they're scared because the 501c3 tell them they can't be political. It's a load of unconstitutional malarkey, and Trump's overturning it. But these churches want to play it safe right into hell. Now, a lot of them are good. And if they're good, donate to them. But I wouldn't give another red cent to these name it and claim it glitter bug cults. I grew up in Dallas, in Rockwall, folks, right in the middle of some of the biggest names out there. Okay? And I know about these preachers behind the scenes. Let me tell you. I've never seen hookers that look so good. So you just need to understand these people got helicopters, they got cocaine, and they are partying. And they are absolutely think you're a joke. Okay? And that's a whole nother area. It's just these churches, these big, giant mega churches are everywhere. Everyone worships these stupid preachers, and they're not doing anything to fight the world government, the whole beast system. These local radio stations fighting for the Trump agenda that is to free up the churches and free up Christians and not let the IRS persecute Christians. That's what's important. Because if we don't have the religious freedom, we have nothing. And the internet censorship that's coming down, it's not coming down on these little glitterbug churches. It's coming down on us. And they're going against our local radio station sponsors. But they can't stop you committing today to donate to your local affiliates today. Mark it in your calendar and do it.
Yo, did you hear that, guys? Mark it in your calendar and do it. Do it. Like, it makes me feel like this is back to WrestleMania days. That is his wheelhouse. That, yeah. WrestleMania 101, Insanity 101. Also, so why do I bring up good old crazy Alex Jones for this? Why do I bring him up? Well, there are small nuggets of truth that can be mined from this. That can be pulled out from some of the crazy stuff he was. Most of what he says is crazy. But the part that I love the most, which again, you're listening to a show called Snarky Faith Radio, so you're gonna get your snark here as well. I love how he's saying, "Don't give to these people. Don't give to these charlatans. Don't. But what you need to do is give to me, a different kind of charlatan who likes to yell at people." Yeah, I love like just the whole hypocrisy of that. Like, these guys are all frauds. These guys are crazy. Don't give to them, but you should give to me. Which, yeah, that's just wrought with all sorts of irony in what he's saying. But the one point he was making, no, I don't think that the church's job is to like root out the New World Order and things of that nature. But I do think the church's job is to actually speak towards truth in a posture that sends us towards hopefully healing people. And what he is talking about is at the center of all of this, is the fact that power corrupts. Now, I know this is a big take a dump on men day, and guess what? We should. And all these examples that we've seen, whether it be Trump, whether it be Harvey Weinstein, we continue to see that these men abuse their power, and they abuse their power over the weak. They also abuse their power to try to influence women to do horrible things. Not influence, but actually force, and in many instances, much like Weinstein, it ended up being rape. And so all of this is absolutely horrendous and deplorable. And there is nothing that you can say to defend the Weinsteins of this world. Why? Because you shouldn't. Because they are horrible predators. They are disgusting human beings. And the acts that they are doing are scarring people, are leaving psychological and physical damage on people. So yes, there's no defense to be had here, even though I heard Woody Allen was kind of coming to the defense a little bit of Henry Weinstein, which is like the pot calling the kettle a pedophile. I don't really know how that works. But yeah, great for you guys. But the main idea that I kind of want to descend into is this idea that in male culture, and if anyone wants to listen to this, there's a great, you've got to look it up on iTunes, but Anna Faris does a show called Unqualified, hugely popular. She's super funny with it, but she does an interview with Terry Crews. Terry Crews was the Old Spice guy. He's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and many other movies. Actually, also Terry Crews plays the president in a movie that feels very prophetic right now called Idiocracy, where you find yourself in the future and the president is a pro wrestler and a crazy moron. Prophetic? Yeah, I would say so. But Terry Crews, I remember listening to this interview, and it was fascinating. And that's one of the things I love about this guy is that he was talking in such a transparent and truthful manner, and he was talking about what he was calling the cult of masculinity, where the cult of masculinity is pushing men to objectify women, and that the way you objectify women, you have conquests of women, air quotes, and that is a way that men feel validated, which he's absolutely right. He's not, now again, Terry is actually speaking out against this, so I don't want it to sound at all like Terry's like, yeah, this is great. No, he's speaking out against the cult of masculinity, and we continue to see this, and this is something that is so ingrained. It's not simply just in American culture, even though it happens again and again here. This is something that's happened for the longest time in just human culture, where we've seen the patriarchy that continues to just manipulate and hold down those that they deem weaker or less than in culture. And I am not saying that women are weaker or less than in culture, but there is this weird stereotype that a lot of times men in power feel like they can do that women end up being objects that they can have their way with. And as long as you have enough power and money, it's okay, because it will eventually go away, or you can pay for people to go away, which Weinstein tried to do for years. But eventually it comes to a tipping point where there has been so much happening that people can no longer be silenced. And we're seeing this. We're seeing like the systematic abuse that had happened under Weinstein. And again, like for us to assume, and everyone's turning on him right now, as they should. But the problem is, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. I mean, we've got the Bill Cosbys of this world. We've got the Woody Allens of this world. We've got all of these other folks out there that have continued to do this and use their power and status to be able to abuse people and take people and manipulate people and treat them like they are property and not human. And this is evil. This is disgusting. And unless we call it out and call it for what it is, we become complicit. We become a part of it. Like when we don't speak out against these things and don't do something about this, then we're also part of the problem. And that is a sad thing. And when you begin to think about this, and see, this is what I find very interesting, and especially with all that's been going on, especially within the Trump administration, like we've seen, okay, so you have on one side of the spectrum, you have like the Mike Pences, the Mike Pences who follows the Billy Graham rule meaning that no man should be alone ever with a woman that is not his wife. And in all honesty, I'm pretty sure he's never alone with his wife either, because he calls her mother and all of that is just ridiculously creepy. But you have the Pences of this world, who is a strong Christian man who somehow is afraid to be around women because he may become inflamed with passion and emotion and not be able to control himself or his penis or his pence. I don't know. But when we see these things, again, and even in Christian circles, we see this with the Billy Graham rule. What we begin to say is that men are these weird creatures that somehow cannot control their urges or their genitalia, and that women are the ones that somehow are causing these passions to burn in our loins. And it is because of them that they do this that we need to like make rules and draw lines and make sure all of this is happening. The problem within the whole Billy Graham rule and Christianity and Mike Pence is that when you do things like this, you are boiling down all of womankind into a sexual object. You boil them down into something that is to be looked at or lusted after or something like that. Not a human that is created in the image of God, not a human that is smart and strong and able to do anything a man can do. You see, when we begin to talk in terms like this, and this is the problem with conservative Christianity in regards to women, in regards to the fact that women are not allowed to be leaders in churches. I've been a part of churches in the past, which I have left, that, oh, yes, women are not allowed to be in any kind of a leadership role where they would, no, actually try to teach men anything that would be leadership or instruct them or preach to them. Oh, no, that's bad. That's bad. All women can do in these types of churches are they can speak to other women, lead other women, and they can lead children. Oh, they can lead children. Because again, I don't know, like in this, like if you begin to tease out these kind of like the logic of how people have put together these type of Billy Graham rules and other stuff that people do in conservative churches. Oh, okay, so apparently like women are dumb and children are dumb, but only the men know what to do. Oh, yes, they really don't. They are pompous, arrogant, conservative morons. And that's the nice spin I'm giving him. Mainly because the radio will not allow me to give my full opinion on how I feel about this kind of thing. And I feel about this kind of abuse because it is horrendous and it is not God glorifying. If you go back to Genesis, which so many of the crazy conservative Christians love to go back to, but they go back to it for weird reasons. They like to go to Genesis to look for science. Science? Yes. But we don't read the fact where God said he made man and woman in his own image. And I know even saying his image as God is problematic. The pronoun is problematic. Fine. So he made man and woman in God's image. That's probably the better way I should say that. Yes. So that means that man, masculine man, or whatever you want to say, is the image bearer of God. But guess what? Women are the image bearers of God as well. So which part? Which part is better? Which part is better? Which part is more powerful? Guess what? None of them. None of them. God did not lay out that kind of a hierarchy. And I understand over the course of history that we have fallen into, all of humankind has been, by and large, part of a patriarchal society where men are lifted up and women are oppressed and pushed down in one way or another. Now, in American culture today, what we do is we do it more subtly, especially in the church. It's more subtly. Oh, we love our women because they, at the church, cook potluck food because who else would feed us if we didn't have potlucks? Oh my gosh. They can decorate the sanctuary altars. Oh my gosh. Look at them. Look at what they can do because a man couldn't do that. Oh, but leadership? I'm not so sure about that one. I mean, really, who's going to decorate the altar or cook for us if women are in leadership? I don't know. And again, if you're tuning into the show for one of the first times, that's me being horribly sarcastic because I don't stand for any of that. And I think it's a load of BS. But when we begin to think about this, we have the Mike Pences. Okay, this is how we've done this. This is how we've boiled this down. And we have the Mike Pences that are so repressed, that are so afraid of anything sexual in nature, which, hey, guess what? If you believe that God created us as humans, guess what? God gave us penises and vaginas. Shocker! Yes. And guess what? Penises and vaginas, when they come together, people tend to like it. It's a thing. You know, I don't think this is a fad. The sex thing, it's not a fad. Oh, and guess what? God knew that when he created us. Okay, so first of all, we'll establish penis and vaginas are here, and that's not just for procreation. And if any Christian wants to tell me that, hey, you know what you should do? Go read the book Song of Solomon. And that is a fun read. And actually, in back in the days, as when I was doing youth ministry and as a youth pastor, I was working for a nonprofit with a bunch of street kids, whom I loved because these were kids that weren't raised around churches and they were absolutely 100% honest in everything they would tell you. And they weren't like the church kids I'd worked with at previous jobs where they will tell you the answer they know you want to hear, which there's so much more layers of just BS to get through. But these other kids I was working with, and they were saying, oh, yeah, the Bible's stupid. The Bible doesn't apply to anything. And so we're driving home from a trip that I have a ton of middle school and high school boys in this van. And they were saying, yeah, it's kind of boring. It doesn't really apply today. And I was like, okay, guys, here's what I want you to do. I want you to flip the Song of Solomon, book in the Old Testament. Oh, the Old Testament. Ugh. And is what they were saying. And I was like, I want you to start reading this out loud. And so they start to read from this book. And they're like, yeah, this is just dumb and it's weird. And I was like, do you guys know like what like a metaphor is? And I explained to them what a metaphor is. And then they begin to read it and they're like, oh my gosh. You know, there's like scriptures like, I will climb your tree and I will grab your fruits. And there's many other things that gets, it gets very X-rated very fast in a metaphorical way. And it's really funny to watch this. And as they're reading this, they really actually got into it. So we're on like a car trip where I'm taking them somewhere. I don't know, we were on some sort of a youth trip. And they totally got into the book of Song of Solomon because to them, this was the most perverted thing they had ever read, ever. Now, let's juxtapose that with conservative Christians. Everything in the Bible is God's word, and it is holy, and it is for us, and it is for us to be able to edify us and glorify us in how we live our lives. Okay, so you have Song of Solomon, which is a book that glorifies like sex between two consenting, loving adults in a healthy relationship. And as you read that, like I just watched their eyes open going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that this was part of Christianity as well, that the fact that we need to celebrate who we are as humans. We need to celebrate the creator that created us, but also like, you know, we're holistically these amazing beings. And when you get the Mike Pences of this world, what ends up happening is they become repressive. It's about repressing themselves and repressing everyone else around them. And the problem with repression is repression takes reality and it twists it. It takes like whatever your lens is for the way that you look at this world, it takes it and it twists it. Not in a way that you can kind of see the whole spectrum of life, but to where you end up seeing life as basically a bunch of landmines for sin. So so the Pence way of dealing with this is like this. And I've been in plenty of churches over the years that this is their mentality. Now, if you ask them this, and I tell you this all the time, if you ask them this point blank, they'll be like, no, that's not how it is. But if you stand back and watch them, if you watch how they live this out, if they like live the ethics of their belief out, I'm totally right every time. Which is pretty much a good rule of thumb for anything on the show, that I'm pretty much right all the time. And that's me again being horribly sarcastic because I'm not. But in this case, I will tell you I am. What simply happens, especially within conservative Christendom, what happens to them is all of life becomes about avoiding sin. So your entire existence as a Christian in their mind is to have a metal detector that is all about detecting sin because we don't want to get anywhere near it. So instead of like living life, you put on the headphones and you have the machine and you walk around staring at the ground, like ignoring the rest of life, ignoring those that are suffering around us, ignoring anything that's happening in culture. And you're just going beep, 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 beep. Oh, and you hear the beep, beep, beep. Then you're like, oh, condemn, 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 judge, 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 judge. Get away. Get behind me, Satan. You know, all those kind of things that they do. And so your entire existence, as people are taught in these circles, is that sin is bad, and your whole goal and your whole purpose in life as a Christian is to run away from that, is to find it, condemn it, and run away from it. Now, what they are missing is no small thing in this perspective. They're honestly missing 99% of what is spoken of as the kingdom of God in the Bible. The kingdom of God where we are called to be better, which is a good thing, and try to go out and help people in a selfless manner to be able to create healing in a world that is hurting. That is the gospel message. That should be what the good news of Jesus is. Now, most people, when they hear Jesus or good news, they scream and run away. Why? Because most people's context of what the good news is not good news. It's all bad news. And it's all condemnation. Because who doesn't want to show up to a church every Sunday and been told that they're a piece of crap? Oh, please sign me up. I can go there and they'll take my money too. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Why haven't I figured this out before? Yes, that is sick. So you have the Mike Pences, which are these repressed, sad, sad, sad people. But then you have on the other spectrum, you have the Harvey Weinsteins of this world, which are unhinged predators. That you have repression on one side and these people that just go for it. They go for it. But both sides of that spectrum, guess what, are absolutely selfish. They are absolutely selfish human beings. Harvey Weinstein doesn't care about the damage he causes to other people. He doesn't see other women as actual people. He sees them as some sort of product to grab and grope and rape and whatever else that disgusting human being did. And so, yes, selfish on that. Selfish on Mike Pence is the fact that, yes, he's terrified of everything. And he feels good about it because he can hide from it. I mean, seriously, he calls his wife mother. Unless that's some sort of a weird kink that he has in bed, then maybe I'm misjudging him. But I'm pretty sure I'm not. When I'm talking about folks like him that are so scared of people's nature and their bodies and their tingly feelings that happen below the belt, all of those things, they run from it. Because why? Because anything that makes us human is bad. Now, again, I'm saying this is from the conservative perspective because guess what? Which is the largest flaw in their logic is simply this, is that they use Jesus as he is the epitome. He's the archetype of what we should be. Not wrong there. Hey, look at what Jesus did. Yes, I tried to live my life after what Jesus did too. That's not a bad thing. But guess what? If you're a Christian and you believe that Jesus was also divine, we're not going to go chasing divinity, maybe unless you're a Mormon or a Scientologist. We don't have this idea that we can become divine, meaning like we can't become a god. That's actually what you would call idolatry. That's really, if you want to get much into the Old Testament, that was like a lot of the reasons Tower of Babel, the idea of Satan being an angel and getting cast out of heaven, all that kind of stuff. It was the idea that people were assuming that they could become like God. And guess what? Conservative Christians, you don't say this, but what you do is exactly that form of Old Testament, New Testament, whatever, idolatry that you rage against. Because guess what? We're created to be humans. And if God created us to be humans, okay, we should be really good humans. Should we try to be divine? No. Because, again, the Bible speaks out against that pretty profusely, that we are not meant to be what we're not. I mean, it's trying to, say, if you had a turtle, and the turtle really wanted to fly. But guess what? It's a turtle. And the turtle doesn't want to be the turtle anymore, so he wants to be something else. And within this, I think that there is nothing in the Bible that tells us we're not supposed to be fully human, that we're not supposed to be people that are fully alive, living out a selfless existence, trying to help others and trying to heal the world. I think that's a good thing. But I will tell you conservatives, no. Anything that is human or fleshly, oh, that's evil. That's bad. The little tingle jingle I get in my pants sometimes, that's bad too. What? Seriously? Because the funny thing about this is, I'll give you a very, very brief 30-second history of this. So the conservative Christians would tell you this, that the Gnostics were it was kind of a belief system. And a lot of the Gnostics ended up kind of hooking into the whole Jesus narrative, especially back in Christ's time. But they firmly believed this. They firmly believed that anything that was earthly or fleshly or really just that we can touch and feel was bad, evil, dirty. And anything that was spiritual, something you can't see, you can't pin down, you can't necessarily touch, that was good and pure. And actually, these Gnostic beliefs have infiltrated the conservative Christian church. Everything is about, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. I need to go to heaven. I need to be raptured. I need to get the hell out of this place. Why? Because here it's bad, it's dirty, it's horrible. There's nothing beautiful. There's nothing good. There's nothing worth redeeming. And only if Jesus will freaking rapture me. Come on, Kirk Cameron, make it happen. Yeah, all of that is actually denying what we are as humans. And there's nothing wrong with being a human. And we should want to be the best humans we can be. But when we end up on this weird spectrum, I think between the Weinsteins and the Mike Pences of this world, we end up really warping what it is to be human. The Weinsteins end up turning us into some sort of a weird animal that, or maybe a weird serial killer type of, or serial rapist kind of a situation where we become less human on that perspective, right? We're not able to see others as humans or see that our actions can hurt other people. when we begin to lose that part of our humanity, things get really weird and dark and horrible, and they damage people's lives. On the Mike Pence side of it, guess what? They get weird and dark and horrible, and they damage people's lives. Why? Because one area is you're embracing this other weird side of your humanity where you have no empathy and you can't see anybody for who they are. People are all just things for us to consume. And on the Pence side, everybody's weird and horrible and nasty, and people are all evil. And again, none of those. And they were eaten. I'm going to say this, and I know I may get flack about this. I'm going to tell you, each of those extremes is horrible and bad. They're both bad. Now, one of them, the Weinstein side, does tons of emotional damage, physical and emotional damage. But guess what? The Pence side does emotional and physical damage to people. So in a weird way, I remember this was back like in one of my political science classes way back in college, where I remember a professor describing that, when he was describing like the left and right like spectrum when you're looking at politics, he said it's not a line. He said it's almost a circle. And when you get to the edges of it, they don't actually touch, but they're really close to touching. So when you get to the far right and the far left, things get weird, but they also get very similar. Now, if you were to say, look at the Weinsteins and say, oh my gosh, this is a horrible situation. This guy's a pig. He deserves jail, which you're justified and right to say that. But if you look at Mike Pence, oh, look at mild Mike Pence, who simply just hates gay people and is afraid of women, But his brand of conservatism and Christianity is also horribly and psychologically damaging to people and damning to a lot of people. And both of those things are ridiculous. And what do we have in the White House? What do we have in the White House right now? Well, we have Pence on one side and we have Trump on the other side, because have we forgotten the fact that Trump is basically an orange Weinstein? And what is this? Yeah, this is, we have kind of forgotten about this. I know we recently had the whole anniversary of the Access Hollywood tapes coming out, where he's openly bragging about this, and they said, oh, no, that's just locker room talk. That's what got... No. When you're describing an act that you're doing to a person, that's not locker room talk. You're describing what you did to a person. Let that sink in for a minute. Oh, boys will be boys. That's what they say. No, they won't. I have never been in a situation where I'm like, oh, there's another human here. I want to somehow do what I want to this person, irregardless of how they feel or what kind of trauma I put on them. What? We're living in this age where I'm just like, I don't even identify with these people at all. It is unfathomable. And so, speaking of our commander in Cheeto, when we cannot forget this. As we become outraged, as we see Hollywood become outraged at all of these women, and they continue to come more every day about that were personally assaulted by Weinstein or personally assaulted by other people, because you continue to hear people saying, I was harassed, I was assaulted, I was raped on a regular basis. And what we have to make sure we do is we cannot turn all of this into this white noise of outrage. Every one of these people, and as you've been seeing it, there's men and women coming out that have had the thing happen to them. But by and large, most of them are women. We cannot let all of their stories become white noise. We cannot let them become this whole kind of ball of rage that we have. Because guess what? Each of them is an individual. Each of them is still dealing with this. Each of them is having to walk through this. And their story and their path, hopefully, to healing should matter to us. Now, where is all of the outrage that is happening around our president? Well, and you'll say, Stuart, but guess what? There's so much outrage on a daily basis based upon what he's tweeting or what deal, hello, Iran, that he's trying to pull us out of, or climate agreements, or it's too much. It's too much. Your brain wants to explode. You're just like, oh my gosh, I can't handle any more of this crazy Trump BS. And when we hear all of that, we can tend to forget about the fact that he has been a sexual predator. And this is where that layer of hypocrisy begins to come in, especially where white evangelicals love Trump. They love all that he's doing. And you begin to look at this, oh, dude's on like wife number 3 and as a checkered past of him abusing women and treating them like things. Again, wife number 3, I mean, you may mess up once and stuff, but like when you're on 3 and, 4 may happen at some point if he doesn't die before, because, again, we've seen the president. He's got such a healthy regiment of sitting on his ass and eating fast food. But, I wouldn't put it past him eventually at some point to just trade in Melania for a new one. But when you begin to see men that act like this isn't simply about I made a bad decision. No, it's about that I see that women are things. They are pawns. They are things that I can manipulate because I'm a powerful man and look at me, I'm the most orange in all of the land. And I'm wealthy and I'm rich and I can just do what I want to and I get away with it. Or I kind of just pay people off a little bit and they make them go away. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this man that does not see women as humans or equals or anything besides some sort of a weird sexual object for him to touch or grope. I mean, have we forgotten the fact that this is the guy that during like the different beauty pageants that he has hosted and put on would just routinely walk into the dressing rooms of women and girls? Anyone? No, I know we all know this. But what I don't want for us is simply this. I don't want us to become normalized to all of this outrage. I think the outrage needs to hurt every time. I think the outrage needs to continue to hurt so we can stop this guy that is a monster and a systemic problem that is a bigger problem in America today. So let's go ahead and just dive in a little bit on Trump before we get to the church. Okay, so this comes talking about our dear Trumpy. And this is coming from BuzzFeed News, and they write it this. A high-stakes legal showdown is brewing for President Donald Trump as a woman who said he groped her has subpoenaed all the documents from his campaign pertaining to any women alleging that Donald Trump has touched inappropriately. And what is happening is simply this. You have, and I really apologize if I'm butchering your name, because I probably will. Don't do it on purpose. I don't do it on purpose. Summer Zeveros, a former contestant from Trump's reality TV show The Apprentice, accused Trump of kissing and grabbing her when she went to his bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel in 2017 to discuss a possible job for the Trump organization. So does this sound kind of like a similar thing? Women being invited up to a room somewhere and these powerful men trying to take advantage of them. Harvey Weinstein, Donald Trump, same, no different. All of it. We watch this. I mean, I know like when you like, I mean, the FBI has certain like personality traits and certain things that like serial killers do. Same thing with serial rapists or serial whatever Trump is. Where you begin to see these things, there are commonalities between how these powerful men are setting up situations for abuse. And this is our president of the United States. Now, I know you'll say, oh, but what about Bill Clinton? You're just picking on the Republicans. Guess what? No. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's what happens. And it is no different in the church when we begin to see this. And we see these things, but this is our president. This is the guy that is essentially screwing over the United States in the face of the rest of the world right now. And on top of all of the other insane things that he is doing politically, this is happening. There are lawsuits against him. And I pray that they don't take some sort of a money settlement to just let it go away. Because what happens here is this. Other people need to know about this so that this doesn't continue on. Just because he parades around his Barbie doll of a first lady doesn't mean that he's not out being weird and gropey to other women. We have heard this. We have heard him say this in his own words. I mean, I don't know what more of an admission you need for this predator in chief that we have here. I mean, I don't know what more you need. And yet, conservative Christians continue to stand behind this guy. They continue to support this guy. They continue to be there for this guy. And I'm just like, what? What? I mean, how? Like, how do you do this? And then we had, I think this was last week, Michelle Bachmann, who again is crazy, is insane. Just listen to her talk. I mean, she's not like Sarah Palin insane, but she's like her sister, maybe, and if you're talking about an insane family tree here. But no, she's talking about Donald Trump being a wonderful man of faith when she was speaking at like the Value Voters Summit. What is that even? I don't know. I mean, yes, we understand kind of what these events are, where Christians come just to polish their knobs and feel good about themselves and try to talk about Jesus, but really just care about what they can get from people when they talk about Jesus. And so, yes, she had said this. We were in a meeting with the vice president and the president, about 25 of us. I know the vice president. I served with him in Congress. He's a vocal, committed believer in Jesus. And he said, I want all of you to know that the president is a committed believer. He is a man of faith. How odd is that? First of all, like, really? Like, have you been around Christian circles where people are like, oh, that guy, he's really a Christian. That guy's not. It does happen. It is a thing. But I'm just saying, in a normal circumstance, like, really? Are you sitting around, like, having and talking at dinner? Oh, that guy is a real Christian, as opposed to the fake ones? I don't know. I don't know if there's like a Christian litmus test that somehow you pee on a stick and it tells you, oh, this guy's really a Christian. He's really a Christian. And this just sounds weird. This sounds like, honestly, I'm going to say this sounds like 50 Shades. And Bachmann had said this, speaking about Trump. There's nothing better than a man under authority. We don't want anyone, especially the president, to think that they are a man under their own authority. We need to be under authority, whether it's the authority of the Constitution and the laws of the land, but even more importantly, under the authority of faith. And I think that helps us regulate our behavior when we know that we're accountable to something. So first of all, so many issues with that. And again, I just feel like conservative Christians, when they talk, it's some sort of like sadomasochistic like language that they're using here. They just don't know it. But like, maybe the desires are under the surface. I think of Pence probably as a kinky little boy who has mommy issues. Maybe. I don't know. No, but even saying this, like, oh, there's nothing better than a man that is under authority of the Constitution and authority of his faith. Oh, but what happens when those two authorities actually clash and have nothing to do with one another? That doesn't work. You can't have it both ways. You can't. You just can't. That's not how it works. And so what I wanted to do is set all of this up. First of all, just to talk about the crazy hypocrisy within churches. But then I started trying to look at this. I started trying to look up some information about, abuse of power in the church. Okay. And then I found this article, and instantly I felt dirty, which meant I have to share it on the show. And this is this is back from the golden age of Americana back in 2013, right? Back when Obama was in. Back before we had Trump, where we didn't actually feel like we were under nuclear annihilation or just nuclear stupidity on a daily basis. Yes, churchleaders.com wrote this article. Not misogynistic at all. Again, very, very thick sarcasm if you're not picking up on it. And it's called this: Pastors, 7 women you should watch out for. And they go into talking about the story of David and Bathsheba, where it's somehow they were like framing this like it's Bathsheba's fault. And like, again, the whole Mike Pence version of it, like, oh, David couldn't contain himself. It's not his fault. He has burning loins. And everyone knows a man with burning loins, all the blood from his head goes down to his crotch and he can't think. So these terrible women. What? So again, when we read stuff like this, I'll just give you like just a brief synopsis. I'm not even going to glorify this, but like just for your own amusement, because at least gave me amusement. So these are the 7 women a pastor should watch out for in ministry. A woman who wants to be your wife. A woman who wants to be your mother. A woman who wants to be your lover. A woman who wants to be your best friend. A woman that you want. A woman who doesn't know what she wants. And I mean, and a woman you work closely with in ministry. We should run away from, I mean, I think number 8, because they only had seven women. Like, I think a woman that's breathing, I mean, a woman that's not on life support, we should watch out for these women. What? Like, how ridiculously misogynistic is this article? Like, how seriously, again, Christians, again, stop it. Men have brains. They can think. And they make bad decisions. So let's just call it what it is. Don't keep putting like the weight and the blame on women. Oh. I mean, because it ends up sounding like how people do like against rape victims, how when they come out against them, like, oh, well, you shouldn't have been wearing that, or you shouldn't have been putting out those signals. Because guess what? In the end of the day, no always means no. I don't care what your example is. And at the end of the day, also, another human being, yeah, it's not your right to do something to their body that they don't want done. So why are we telling in articles like this, pastors, you have to watch out for these evil harpies that are going to put their claws in you, and somehow, because you have no self-will of your own or no self-respect of your own, because you cannot like, oh, we have to run away from this. Again, the Billy Graham rule is absolutely misogynistic and is absolutely not affirming of women as an equal gender in society. It's not, and it never was. Because if you're teaching men to be afraid of women because what they can somehow make you do or make you want to do, I mean, we're no better off than the Harvey Weinsteins out there when we have conversations like this. So again, guess what? Church. You are allowing these Weinsteins in your own flocks to continue to Weinstein it out. You are not protecting women, especially if you have lists like this, 7 women, the 7 women the pastors should watch out for. Oh my God. It's maddening. It's disgusting. And none of this is Christ glorifying. And I just continue to just shake my head at this and try not to vomit in my mouth any more than I already have. But simply put, when we begin to look at this, and our last bit will be on an article that I found, which I'll still have some issue with this too. But as much as we want to feel like churches are safe spaces, they're not. As much as we give people unchecked power in churches, they will never be safe. When we continue to set up churches in a way where there's a hierarchy, where there's one person, most of the time a guy, that is in power and everybody else is subordinate, and that we also then add another layer of spirituality. Oh, he has spiritual authority over me. What is spiritual authority? I'm not really sure, but it's some sort of invisible authority. That means he can be an ass or a perv to us. I don't even know what that means, because guess what? I've been in churches where the senior pastor was, in church speak, spiritually abusive. I would just say emotionally, psychologically abusive, and also unhinged. And so, yes. So it's by Rick Thomas from rickthomas.net. And Rick makes a lot of good points here. Like, and this is 8 signs of spiritual abuse, like in a church. And I think by and large, he's right on. But I think also, like, my only little bit of issue is the way that the pronouns he uses in here tend to be he-centric. So you're trying to figure out if your pastor or spiritual church leader is spiritually abusive or really just abusive, and they're all he's. And so I think that's a weird assumption to make, that it's just he's. I'm not trying to say that women are abusive in this situation. I'm just saying is that we're just assuming that all pastors are men. I found that kind of weird. And so I think some of these are good culture things to be able to look at. So like he begins by saying, like, does the pastor delegate? And so you begin to see churches where abusive pastors, abusive people in control or in business are controllers. They micromanage their people. There's only one way to do things, and it's their way. So when you begin to see situations like that, where you have these people that have a heavy hand in how they're doing this, where they don't let other people kind of rise to the moment or use their gifts in the situation, yeah, that's a bad situation. That's where you get the Mark Driscolls of this world, who implode and are abusive, and then move a little ways away and start another church, and rinse, repeat, continue going on. Great, that's awesome. Jim Baker, same thing, man. Swindles, embezzles people's money, runs around and does all sorts of weird sexual stuff, and gets cries, I've sinned, and leaves the church. But guess what? Comes back, keeps doing it. Oh, is he doing it because he feels God's calling him to do it? No, he's doing it because it makes money. That's how he does it. That's what charlatans do. So yes. So are they controlling? Do they clone their leaders? Like, meaning this, do their leaders have to be just like them? You know what I mean? Like, kind of the Hitler superiority complex thing. Like, everyone needs to be just like me, and that's how it needs to be because I apparently am the mold. I'm the mold of everything good in this world. Yeah, they do that. Do they try to clone a certain kind of culture? Like, that heavy-handed mentality tries to make this culture that only they can create. Do you feel comfortable on this people is another thing. Like, if you're hanging around them, do you feel comfortable or do you feel less than? Do they seem grounded and real and authentic, or do they seem like they are televangelists, charlatans, people that are just projecting this kind of an idea? But yeah, in these type of situations, churches or organizations, are people free to speak? Are they allowed to speak their mind? Are their own unique talents and abilities allowed to be able to flow and flourish in those places? And not just flow and flourish when that person needs you to do something for them. Does that make sense? Like, because again, like, churches should be kind of like this open source place where people's gifts and talents and abilities are being lifted up and utilized and used, not a place where one dude is controlling most of it. Yeah. Are they ignorant or are they humble? Do they listen? Do they not? Like, how do they handle those things? Because one of the things I think that can show you, and regardless whether it be Hollywood or otherwise, are they empathetic? Are they humble? Do they listen to people? Do people matter to them? Or do they always have the right answer for everything? Those are the situations that you should be scared of and run away from. And the sad fact is, there's many churches that you can't change. That the best thing that you can do is walk away from that church instead of trying to stick it out and make it and fix it. Sometimes the best answer is to leave. I've been in churches, I've been around micromanagers, I've been around egomaniacs, I've been around all of it. And I've seen where the culture, how damaging and toxic and abusive the culture is. I've been around ones where, yes, there was weird sexual stuff, or where there's just simply just abusive stuff that happens. And they all do it in the name of God, and that makes it even worse. Like, in that situation, for me, it's even worse than a Trump because they're doing it and saying that God is allowing them to do this kind of stuff. And I'm not even getting into the whole Catholic priests things with kids and boys, which is, again, of the same cut of what we're talking about. There's secrecy. There's not a space for voice. There's not any of that. So what I would just tell you, my dear listeners, is when you smell these things, when you feel these things are around, become aware. Or like I think they had said this in like the New York. It was a campaign they did for the New York subways. If you see something, say something. And it's so simple. But if you see abuse, say something about it, report it, talk about it, share it with somebody. Don't hide it. Because the problem is, if we let these like sleeping dogs lie, it's just going to continue to happen again. Like, I worked for one church where I wasn't told this until I'd actually moved to this place. And I heard about it from somebody else. And they said, "Oh, do you realize you're the 7th youth pastor that we've had in the last 7 years?" That would have been great information for me to have had before I moved my family to go work at this place. And it was a horrible place. Dysfunctional, sure. Abusive, yes. And I don't last very long in those places, mainly because as long as you guys have seen this from me, I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut. So if you see something, say something. And let's continue to support these people that are coming out. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt, not the ones in power, those that are saying they've been hurt. Because I think for us that aren't victims in these situations, we need to have empathy and compassion, and we need to be able to go to people's sides and help them and offer them help. We can't keep ignoring these situations, whether it's in the Oval Office or whether it's in the sanctuary of your church. Abuse is abuse, and we need to speak out against it. That's all I've got this hour. Thanks for listening to us. As we end this broadcast, just a reminder, you can catch us on podcast at www.snarkyfaith.com. You can also catch us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Thank you guys for listening to this. And I can't do this without you. So we love to hear from you. And questions at snarkyfaith.com. Send it to us. And I'll be back again next week. Thanks so much. And you guys have a great week. Goodbye.
WCOM is listener-supported community radio, and Snarky Faith is only possible through our sponsors. Aqueduct Conference Centre was established in 1978 as a peaceful destination for small group meetings, special events, conferences, retreats, and weddings. For more information, go to www.aqueductcc.com. We are also sponsored by Lumen. Lumen, a spiritual community of seekers, sojourners, question askers, doubters, and skeptics, is a collective of fellow travelers that embrace the truth that all life is sacred, hope is real, and tomorrow can be better than today. All are welcome. You can find more information at www.lumencommunities.com.